Just to give you a brief background, for several months now, we have been receiving reports of improprieties in SLFA. We have previously done, since I became commissioner in 2018, at least 3 investigations into SLFA affairs. And we have been making recommendations. Before I was commissioner, we are aware that Aisha Johansson, Chris Kamara, and Mazola were all charged, and later they were freed by the High Court. But then other issues came up which we investigated, and we made recommendations. One of the recommendations which we made to the government, which has still not been implemented, was that the SLFA be given their own money instead of channeling it through the NSA. Let the NSA give them their money. They use it and account for it as SLFA. But that has not been done, and a lot of money still goes through the National Sports, the NSA, the National Sports Authority. But we have made several recommendations to make sure that the SLFA improves and works better over the years. We have had engagements with all the stakeholders in sport multiple times. I have personally sat with them. We have tried to do a lot of prevention work because we are aware that this country loves football. And the most important part of it is that we had a president who came. There were a lot of things happening in Sierra Leone. There was hunger, famine, there were people, housing crisis, there are issues of roads, petroleum, a lot of things that the president could have prioritized. But President Julius Maada Bio prioritized football. Sports generally, but particularly football. And every indication shows that he has prioritized it, not just in words, but made sure that they receive resources to do their work. And that is how the Premier League was relaunched. We even now have a female Premier League also. And Sierra Leone has been growing, and the government spends on average $1 million per game. That's huge expenditure. So it is this reason why when we started receiving reports again that things are happening in a way that are improper in the SLFA, we became interested over 6 months ago. And the investigation has been going. So if anybody thinks that we are only getting involved with this now, that is not true. The ACC has been looking into this for a while now. It is not because Congress is one day away that we are getting involved. Thomas Daddy Brima, the finance person, the acting secretary, have been under investigation for at least 5 months now. They have been coming to the commission and making statements. They have been providing us with documentation. They have been supporting the investigation generally. So this is not a Congress affair. This is purely something that we have been working on for months and months, but we are now at a point where we have sufficient information, and we thought it is now right for us to carry out arrests and detention, and also for us to inform the public about what really has been happening in SLFA, some of which will shock you. And I'm about to read from the report we now have. Let's start with the most controversial pre-financing and reimbursement scheme. Now, I don't know whether this has been happening in SLFA before, but all indication shows that under the leadership of Thomas Daddy Brima, this pre-financing and reimbursement scheme was taken to a whole new level. Several funds were made to Thomas Daddy Brima from 2021 to 2025. It is claimed by the finance officer that these funds are in respect of pre-financing done by the president for various SLFA activities. No proper explanation or documentation have been submitted by any SLFA official to us. For instance, a refund was made to Thomas Daddy Brima of $97,804 for payment he claimed he made for U-17 travels. But the supporting documents provided initially as proof or reason for payment by the head of finance did not match the refund paid to Thomas Daddy Brima. Supporting documents showed a total of 106,805 instead of 97,804, which was claimed. That was refunded to him, giving a variance of $9,000, which clearly shows that the documents cannot be trusted. Several other substantial refunds to Thomas Daddy Brima do not have any accompanying documents. According to the SLFA manual, section 8, it clearly states that all payments should be done through bank transfers, but in most cases, reimbursement was done to Thomas Daddy Brima through the head of finance by cash payments for multiple transactions. This is a direct breach of the SLFA statute. On matching receipts and invoices, the invoices that were submitted for tickets paid in relation to travel for the under-17 team total 9,500 and were issued by Cinderella Limited, but they were not submitted with receipts from the same company. Receipts issued by Dreams Travel and Tours were attached to the Cinderella invoice for payment, clearly showing invoice and receipts for a single transaction by two entities. So you say Cinderella are the ones who issued the ticket, but you give us a receipt from Dreams Travel. That is what happened in this circumstance. Management letter issued by the external auditors outlined audit issues raised by the auditors and management responses to those issues. King Walker and Associates have been the external auditors of SLFA for over 5 years. And in one of their management letters dated 6 February 2025, they questioned a refund dated the 4th of April 2022. So this shows that this has been ongoing for a very long time. The sum of $63,100 was made without sufficient documentation out of that payment that was questioned. According to SLFA manual, SLFA finances all its activities while some matches played are financed by the National Sport Authority and allowances are paid to the delegation by the National Sport Authority. It was noted that on a few occasions, SLFA president will collect allowances for trips from the NFC and collect allowances again for the same trip from the SLFA account. All reimbursement is done to a single individual, the president of SLFA. No other person gets reimbursement except the president. And based on our analysis, Thomas Daddy Brima's accounts are not showing any bank payments to SLFA to substantiate the reasons for the refunds. So, at least show us in your account that you moved $97,000 to SLFA, or you withdrew $97,000 from SLFA. His account does not show any such transaction. The only thing that we can see is him saying when money comes that I gave SLFA $97,000, pay me back, and they process it among themselves and pay him. In his USD account, we ascertained that his cash inflows were only from SLFA, CAF, and FIFA. His dollar account, his personal dollar accounts, the only monies that go in there are money that come from SLFA, CAF, and FIFA, and no other source. Several letters have been issued by the executive committee to the president to stop all pre-financing and to explain with evidence reasons for the reimbursements received. Even though it is the policy of FIFA to avoid all cash payments, they are always using cash for transactions. Always cash. The president and other SLFA officials are totally ignoring FIFA and SLFA statutes and rules for their operations. So there are finance manuals by FIFA. There is a finance manual for SLFA. They basically don't consider them at all. They just do what they feel like, and most times through cash transactions. According to the delegate list for under-17 male team to Mauritania, Thomas Daddy Brima was not part of the delegation but still collected the sum of $5,000 as allowance for the trip. This was supposed to be an 8-day trip as the team returned in 8 days. Therefore, even if he was on the trip, he was supposed to secure an allowance of $4,000. But he collected an extra $1,000 for the trip he may not even have been part of. When trips are booked for tournaments, arrangements are made with traveling agencies to change their return tickets for free if the national team or under 17 is eliminated from the competition. But Thomas Daddy Brima claimed a return of $11,700 as expenses he incurred to change the ticket for the same 8 days trip. We have not been able to get any justification for this. Based on our findings, we are able to ascertain that a letter was sent to the banks demanding change in the mandate of SLFA that was originally stated to be A plus B to sign any two. The letter was only signed by the president without the executive committee resolution. So basically what this is saying, there was a letter that came to change the signatories to the SLFA account. And this may have happened after Chris Kamara was set aside by the, I'm sure you are already aware of this, that for a very long time, Chris Kamara has not been part of the team at SLFA. He was suspended. We do not go into the merits of that suspension. That is not part of our investigation, but he was suspended. Now, to change that account, Thomas Daddy Brima wrote and changed it without any approval of the executive committee. And there has to always be such a resolution to support any request for change of signatories. According to SLFA statute, it clearly states that any change of signatories should be approved by the executive committee or of SLFA. The president in his interview said he does not need to consult with anyone when making decisions, as he is mandated by Section 38 in the SLFA statute to take decisions unilaterally. He also expressed that there was a FIFA consultant monitoring SLFA affairs and there were regular audits conducted by FIFA, but he was never found wanting for any breach of procedures or corruption. On this point, we spoke to one of the executive committee members, Mr. Kwekulisk. He made a statement to the commission, and he was very clear that, in fact, there was an executive committee meeting where they took a specific decision that the account signatories should not be changed. So it is even bad that they were not being consulted, but here they took a decision to say, do not change or add a signatory. The president still went ahead and did it. From the review of the USD bank statement of SLFA from Commerce Mortgage Bank and Union Trust Bank from the period 25th June 2021 to 12th July 2024, a total transfer of $720,000 was made to various accounts of Thomas Daddy Brima, some of which were cash withdrawals. Table 1 below shows excerpts from the bank statement. It was made clear that the president is entitled to yearly allowances of $25,000, which means $100,000 of the above amount can be his allowance for the 4 years period, which we can confirm when we eventually speak with him. $720,144 is still unaccounted for as payments he received in excess of the allowance he is entitled to. And I will just go briefly to table 1, which shows Union Trust Bank, Commerce and Mortgage Bank transfer to Thomas Daddy Brima. 25th June 2021, $17,400. 14 August 2021, $4,210. 13 August 2021, $4,210. 8 September 2021, $20,000. 1st October 2021, $5,000. 29 October 2021, $5,000. 11 November, $4,000. 19 November, $2,000. 2nd February, $4,693. 17 February, $4,693. 21st February 2022, $1,693. 21 March 2022, $6,000. 29 March 2022, 6 April 2022, $63,100. 6 April 2022, $6,000. 14 April 2022, $10,000. 17 November 2022, $7,000. 8 July 2022, $25,700. 8 July 2022, $4,590. 19 July 2022, cash withdrawal, $106,000. 27 July 2022, $25,000. 1st August 2022, cash withdrawal, $34,000. 22nd August 2022, transfer to Thomas Daddy Brima, $57,600. 31st August 2022, $97,804. 11 November 2022, $104,830. 11 November 2022, $3,080. 16 December, $1,500. 4th January 2023, $15,500. 11 January 2023, $2,500. 1st February 2023, $2,235. 10th February 2023, $5,000. 14th August 2023, $4,196. 29 January, $5,000. 24th February, $5,000. April 2024, $2,000. And so forth and so forth. The total is $720,144. The total transfer to Thomas Daddy Brima's account, Union Trust Bank, Commerce and Mortgage Bank, from the SLFA account at Union Trust Bank and Commerce and Mortgage Bank to Thomas Daddy Brima. So these two accounts, the SLFA account are these two. The total that went to Thomas Daddy Brima over a period starting the 25th June 2021 to the 12th of July 2024, Thomas Daddy Brima received a grand total of $720,144,000. Jacob, where's Jacob? What I want to know is here. There's this here and there's here. Whether this total is only for Commerce Bank and the UTB total is different. Right. The total is for the 720. All right. So the total is 720,144. But there is also the loan transfers to Thomas Daddy Brima apart from that money. 8 July 2022, refund to President under 17 Camp McKinney, $58,000. 58 million news or 58,000 news in new news. 21st October 2022, 28,000 2022, loan payback, Sierra Leone Female League Board, 170,000 news. 12 July 2023, PMT of traveling allowance under 20, 81,200 news. And 12 July 2023, Congress allowance, Thomas Daddy Brima, which could be legitimate, 5,000 news. And payment of quarterly executive, 184,000 news. The total, apart from cash, just from his account, what he received from SLFA into his account, because there were large cash payments to him. But what he received through direct bank transfers is is $454,750 United States dollars, separate from the loans payments. 454,750 United States dollars. 454,750 United States dollars received through bank transfer. So that excludes the cash payments that were done to. Now I will continue. I was just showing you the various tables. So review of SLFA loans account. I'm now returning to the report. I was with the tables. Review of SLFA loans account also showed that a total of 498,200 was transferred to the SLFA President Thomas Daddy Brima during the period with no documentation or explanation submitted by the finance officer. So the real tragedy of this investigation is the finance officer cannot tell us anything. And it is the finance officer who should be able to say, this is why we paid this to Thomas Daddy Brima. But when you ask him, he will just say, well, the president requested and we had to honor. On 26 July 2022, an inflow of $250,000 from cash was made to SLFA account. Several transfers were immediately made to the personal account of Thomas Daddy Brima. The transfers were made to his Thomas Daddy Brima personal account maintained at Commerce and Mortgage Bank. 10 more transactions of similar nature were cited for the period between 2021 of January to January 2025. Every time SLFA received funds from FIFA and CAF, showing a pattern. So every time FIFA sent money or CAF received money, we have a wave of refunds. Thomas Daddy Brima, the SLFA president, said in his interview that he is mandated by Section 38 to sign unilaterally and act legally as he sees fit. We disagree with that completely. He says by Section 38, he is mandated to sign unilaterally and act legally as he deems fit. So basically, he's basically saying he can ignore all the rules of SLFA and do what he wants. We disagree with that and we do not accept it. It was observed from Thomas Daddy Brima's personal account maintained at Commerce and Mortgage Bank that a total of 454,750 were indeed transferred to his account from SLFA accounts for the period between 2021 and January 2025. All these payments were made without proper documentation, nor are there evidence of transfer made in respect of SLFA activities to vendors or third parties related transactions. So there is something accounting which we call third party confirmation. You say you bought sachets of water from a particular third party. You have to show how you gave the third party the money, and the third party has to confirm that they received the money. Zero. We observe that there are no trace or transfers made to other accounts into Thomas Daddy Brima's personal account maintained at Commerce and Mortgage Bank, except funds received from SLFA accounts. So here is an account that received nothing else. His account is usually empty or with very low balances. SLFA funds are the only significant cash inflows or credit payments into his accounts. The valuation report from Alcon indicates that. So we are now going into procurement issues. The financial issues are the ones I have now presented to you. There is a company called Alcon. The valuation report from Alcon indicates that bidders must submit 3 years audited financial reports as a specific requirement. However, this requirement was not indeed in the bid advertised by SLFA in various newspapers. This gave Lexon an Alcon advantage to win SLFA bids, as they were privileged to submit additional documents with their bids, whilst the advertised bid lacked those information. So basically, this is a very classic bid rigging process where you advertise one thing and tell people to submit, but you have a hidden requirement that you know, which you did not submit. So when you are now evaluating, you basically look at it and say, oh, these people have provided this. These ones did not provide this. And we saw a lot of that in SLFA. A mandatory 3 years audited financial report for a successful bid was clearly stated in the minutes of the procurement committee meeting. And the evaluation report was not stated in the printed media newspaper, which makes it possible for the selected company to be aware of such requirements and submit the statements. They deliberately ensured that Lexon provides certain documents and they did not inform the public to provide these documents. So Lexon is the company that benefited from all SLFA contracts. Lexon benefited from almost all SLFA contracts. Whether it's to build a hostel, whether it's to put a turf somewhere, it's Lexon. Despite being aware of 3 years audited financial report requirements, Lexon only submitted 2 years financial statement for the income statement and statement of financial position 2021-2022, and different years for the cash flow statement 2022 and 2023. This shows that the contracts were awarded to Lexon with incomplete documentation. There is a discrepancy between the profit reported in the income statement for 2022 and the profit reflected in the cash flow statement for the same year by Lexon. This raises concerns about the accuracy of their financial reporting, which could have been grounds for disqualification in the bidding process, but we are nonetheless awarded the contracts. The supposed auditors of Lexon, Buntijan, Duarte, and Co., made it clear to the commission that they didn't prepare the audited financial statements that Lexon submitted in their quest to win the bid. Buntijan and Duarte and Co. made it clear that they to the commission that they didn't prepare the audited financial statement that Lexon submitted in their quest to win the bids. They pointed out that the stamp on the statements is fake. The signature on the reports does not belong to any of their partners or auditors. And they have never carried any work for a company named Lexon. When confronted, the owner of Lexon, Alex Lamboy, confessed that he paid some account clerk named Edmond Kuroma to help him with an audited report because it was a criterion for the bid. He added that the SLFA never reviewed or questioned the documents he submitted. And we checked the SLFA and they confirmed this. They just accepted it hook, line, and sinker. When confronted about the discrepancies in his NACIT documentation, Alex Lamboy, who is the owner of Lexon, confessed that he forged the NACIT receipt for the contract bid due to urgency, submitted it, was accepted by SLFA, and was never questioned by it. From the interviews and documents reviewed, it was clear that the contract was awarded to a company that submitted several forged documents in their bid. The valuation report and the due diligence should have been done by Alcon Construction, who was the consultant, but they failed to verify and submit documents and recommended Lexon instead. The president, general secretary, and head of finance all claimed they had little or nothing to do with these bids, and that it was the responsibility of the procurement committee and the consultant, Alcon Construction, to oversee the bidding process and award of contract. When confronted about why he, the president, signed off on a contract worth $527,000.05 without due diligence, he claims it was not his responsibility. He also could not name the members of the said procurement committee, which he said was constituted. There is a discrepancy between the bidding submission date and the closing date stated in the invitation for bids manual compared to the dates published in the newspapers, Satellite and Night Watch. We discovered that the Africa 24 newspaper advertised the bidding for the project after the closing date. The Africa 24 newspaper advertised the bidding for the project after the closing date, raising concerns about whether the project was adequately advertised at all. According to Alcon Construction, the estimated completion period for the project is 6 months. However, Boom Enterprises was rejected for stating similar completion period of 6 months, while Lexon Construction also made a similar 6-month completion date and was deemed reasonable for completing the project. Lexon was preferred to other bidders regardless of the similar submissions they made. In 2021, a sum of 17,400 was transferred from UTB SLFA account to Casting Roads Commodities, according to which he is said to be a business owned by the president. Thomas Daddy Brima is the one who owns Casting Road. And SLFA transferred $17,400 to it. Thomas D. Brima, both the finance and procurement officers have failed to explain the reason for the transfer or produce any documents supporting this transfer. In his interview, Thomas Daddy Brima said he does not recollect the transaction and never felt the need to officially disclose his interest in Casting Roads Commodities as the owner of it. He quoted Article 38 of the SLFA statute that gives him the right to sign and solely represent the association if he sees fit. He further stated that the transactions were all transactions by the General Secretary. Let me also add that one of the contracts that we are giving to was it Lexon or Alcohol? The one with the signature. Is it Alcohol? Lexon. That is signed. Now, we also saw a very strange situation where one of the contracts that we are giving to Lexon, this is a lot of money for some construction work. In all my years of legal practice and drafted many contracts, I saw with my own eyes a document where Thomas Daddy Brima signed as president of SLFA and also signed as the witness of his own signature. I've never seen it in my entire life. Therefore, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, these are the facts that we have as of now. We believe that these are very concerning. We know that this country loves football and we want to see football played. But it is also the responsibility of the government to ensure that we do not create a black hole. If it is not a black hole, there should be justifications, documents, proper structures in place to justify how monies are spent. Because whether the money comes from CAF, it comes from FIFA, it is still money meant for the people of Sierra Leone. It is not a personal money. Therefore, to say because Section 38 gives you the right to do what you feel and do, and therefore you can use it the way you feel like, we think this is wrong. We believe this is unacceptable. And therefore, we believe that there should be accountability. And that is why, distinguished members of the press, that we arrested Thomas Daddy Brima and the finance officer and the signatory who are jointly signatories to SLFA accounts and the principal administrators of the institution within this period under review so that the people of Sierra Leone can have answers. We take note that Congress is set to take place tomorrow, and we are going to take action to ensure that the Congress goes ahead. Therefore, Thomas Daddy Brima is going to be put on bail immediately after this press conference. And so too are the other members to enable them go ahead with Congress. But the investigations will continue and will ensure that there is accountability. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for taking your time to bring our partners to speed. Now it's question time. Hello? But make sure you limit your question to the subject being presented here. Thomas Dixie, are you with me? Make sure you limit your question to the subject that has been discussed here. Yes, madam. Name and let's listen, please.
Good morning, all. I am Maria Samoa, Head of Sports, AYV. Simple question. From what we gathered, 3 members were detained, including the Secretary General, the Finance Man, and of course the President. But from all what I've heard here this morning, no single mention of the Secretary General. So I would like to know on which basis he was detained. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes.
I'm Imti Jeffrey John from Starting. Question to the ACC Commissioner. It is not an hidden secret that the ACC don't have good record of football matters. You failed to win against Aisha Johansson. You don't think that you're about to win?
Come again so that.
I got a question.
Okay. All right. Any other? Yeah.
Okay. My name is Mohammed Fajabari. From what we've heard from the commissioner here, it's like all the monies commissioner talked about came from FIFA and CAF. And we all know that FIFA frowns at third-party interference. From experience, the Aisha Johansson case, we know how it ended and what it led to, the suspension of Sierra Leone. He was arrested, detained, subsequently indicted, and was asked to step aside in line with the ACC Act. So I just want to, did you take these things into consideration? Because, FIFA always frowns at this. They always perceived it to be third-party interference.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Yes, Umar.
Thank you very much. Commissioner, I wanted to ask, all the monies involved, as you've explained, did they all come from...
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner, all the monies you explained, did they all come from CAF and FIFA, or did they include selling government money as well? And secondly, I know that you say Lexon is owned by Alex Lamboy, but did you do any investigations into trying to establish whether Lexon had any links to somebody in the SLF executive? Thank you.
Okay, so Commissioner is going to respond to these 4 questions, and after which we have to go. We have to give you opportunity. Yes, sir.
So somebody was saying that the Secretary General is not mentioned. Yes, we mentioned it. First of all, the Secretary General is a signatory to the account. So when the Secretary General is a signatory to the account, when monies leave the account, obviously he was part of the process of the money pool. So he's strictly in. But also, for example, the $17,000, which was transferred from UTB SLFA account to Casting Rose Commodities account, which is said to be a business owned by the president, the president stated that it was the Secretary General who authorized that transfer. So clearly there is a lot to deal with the Secretary General in this. We may not have been specific to say this Secretary General, but he's a signatory. He is part of the administrative setup of the SLFA, and obviously collectively he's also part of what happened there. And Faja Barry is asking whether we took into consideration FIFA consider this as third-party interference.
Only funds coming from FIFA and CAF,
Yes.
not Sierra Leone government.
Yes. Yeah, we took it into consideration. And we believe that there has to be accountability on both fronts, both from FIFA and from our side. What we can do, since this money is on behalf of the people of Sierra Leone, is to make sure FIFA have access to this report. And they are going to have access to it. And but the entire investigation is not only limited to issues that have to do with FIFA and CAF. Remember, we are talking about allowances for trips and all these things. Those come directly from the government of Sierra Leone. If there are discrepancies, those are also subject. So there are various things included in this investigation which we may not have specifically referred to, or which concerns both ways. Funds coming from government and preparative coming from government. But also do not forget that the SLFA is set up by statute. And the statute brings it under the jurisdiction of Sierra Leone. So it is both ways. The best we can do in this circumstance is to make sure FIFA have access to our report. So for example, the procurement issues. These stuffs and buildings that are being done are for the benefit of the people of Sierra Leone. If these contracts are not proper, if they are built in a way that are dangerous, who is going to suffer? It's Sierra Leone. So we clearly have a role to play, and that is why we are involved in this. Then there's another question. You asking whether it's third-party interference? No, I don't think so.
Are you going to take another route different from the route your predecessor took that led to the suspension of Sierra Leone? Because they firstly arrested Aisha, and also subsequently they indicted her, and then asked her to step aside. That led to the suspension.
Yes.
So are you going to take different routes?
When we reach that bridge, we'll cross it. At this stage, we are at the point where we are investigating, and we have just updated the public. We are going to take into consideration at least that we have the benefit of hindsight of what happens, and we'll see what can do. Don't forget, these reports can also be beneficial to the ethics committee
of the
SLFA, and that could have its own consequences along the way. So we'll look at everything in total and decide what is in the best interest of Sierra Leone going forward.
Are you suggesting disqualifying Daddy Brima as a candidate?
What?
Are you suggesting that the ethics committee could use this to disqualify Daddy Brima as a candidate?
I am suggesting that the processes of the SLFA would be useful, taking into consideration whatsoever reports we have. But I cannot say, because I am not part of the committee, and I am by no means giving instructions to anybody in the committee. But since they are an ethics committee, and these are ethical issues, they may be of interest to them.
People say this is politically motivated because this is just 2 days to Congress and we'll have the election.
Well, tell people that this issue has been investigated for the past 6 months. Okay? So let people know that it is not politically motivated. I have there is another question which came. Okay, the CAF funds is almost similar to the one Faja asked, so I've already answered that. And whether anybody, yes, one of the things we are actually investigating is to see, because when it comes to procurement, whenever you see these kinds of really shady, somehow inexplicable coincidences, it may be that the people who are running the institution have an interest. But I think people have become sophisticated and it's very easy. They just get nominees. So Lamboy could be a front for somebody. And then the beneficial ownership could be that person. We cannot conclude that at this stage, but we were not able to establish a direct link, except perhaps how this is so strange that the contracts were done, the advertisements were rigged from the beginning, the process was almost improper, and thirdly, and most importantly, even the agreement that was signed, the same man who signed is the one who witnessed.
Would the plea bargain be a possibility with Lamboy to be truthful in exchange for him not being indicted?
When we reach that stage, we'll cross it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the next.
My question, please.
No, let's not be random. Mr. Gobi will accept the questions and we'll take it from there.
Yes.
Answer my question. Yes, sir.
What is your question?
You used to lose cases on football.
Used to means there is a series.
Yeah.
There is no series. Only one case.
Okay, one case.
So say you lost one case in football.
Okay, you don't think that you're about to lose another one?
I don't think that losing is the most important thing in this situation. I am more interested in truth. And the truth is what I am seeking, not whether I lose or I win. Thank you.
All right, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. What's your name? Uh-huh.
Ahmed. A few.
If Friday.
SLF is receiving money from one. You only mention FIFA and CAF are receiving money from FIFA and CAF. Never mention want to receive
Yeah, we'll look into that, but for now we don't have.
My second question, don't you think it's not a Congress and it's another Congress? That's what we need them to elect
It's not extraordinary.
ordinary Congress. We need them to elect Congress. In that case, the Congress president, this one as an example, not now from
Okay. Omar asked that question.
Omar has answered. That is not our pre-interest. Our interest is to bring out the truth and facts. What happens in Congress is in Congress. We don't have control over Congress. And whether what we put out influences them is out of our control. Yes, Thomas.
I want to a clarification on the figures. $720,000 between June and January 2025, and we've seen again $454,000 received in bank transfer.
Yes. Subtract cash. Bank transfer minus cash.
Minus cash.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm not clear on that. It's not an addition, is it?
It's not an addition. It's a subtraction of the cash.
And that's
Why we did that is because cash usually is between somebody can say I did not even receive it. But bank transfer is something we are sure. It came from account A and went to account B. And it was SLFA to Thomas Daddy.
so the total is $720,000.
Correct.
And that was in 2021 and 2024.
Correct.
The period is
Okay.
So about Alcom consultant, did you find out the owner of Alcom consultant?
Yes. We interviewed them.
Are you going to indict anybody from Alcom or?
We have not reached a stage where we can now, because those are typically things like conspiracies. But when it comes to indictment, you have to look at, first of all, there are many considerations at play. You need witnesses. So some people may be complicit, but you decide to use them as witnesses because at the end of the day, it's not me, commissioner, who's going to prove the case. So, and sometimes this is what becomes confusing to public, and they say, oh no, ACC not indict this person, and they'll find reasons. Sometimes they'll say, oh, my friend. Or, no, you have to prove your case in court. And sometimes when it comes to indictment, you have to take a strategic decision to say, well, we are going after the key targets. This one is complicit, but it's better for that testimony to come in as a witness, and then indictments are go out. Yes, to strengthen your case.
All right, yes.
My name is Tiki Sabanga, I'm from the catalog of financial mismanagement and malfeasance announcement. So I want the commissioner to enlighten the public to know next step taken by the ACC to issue an announcement.
Now, the next step will be for us to decide whether to charge them to court, taking into consideration the concerns raised by Fajabari, or what other processes we can use to ensure that there's accountability. So the options are widely available to us and they're open.
All right, yes.
Thank you very much, somebody. Taking into consideration the experience you've got with FIFA, and this time around, don't you think it's good that you inform FIFA about the attitude of Slfa here, so it become known to them that this is happening before ever the case proceeds?
FIFA will be informed accordingly, immediately, probably within the next 1 or 2 days.
Okay, yeah.
Before indictment?
Yes, I'm
Before indictment. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Somebody is talking, yes.
Yes, I am Mohammed Ketue, here for Health Newspaper and also the Director of Public Executive Corps. My question that I want to ask Commissioner is based on what I heard from Muslim Brima statement.
that the laws of SLFA gives him the mandate to do things as he wants. I want to know whether, as a legal expert, you've done any internal check to get that document, the act that gives him that mandate, to prove a statement.
Yeah, we have, and we do not agree with it.
All right. Yes.
Yes, so I am a regional guy and also a for medical. I have just one question. Mr. Commissioner, you did mention that the Congress will hold tomorrow and the President and the two others that they released. I want to know whether they will just be released to attend the Congress, and after the Congress, they will be handed back to the police.
They will be on bail.
For the Congress, only?
They will be on bail.
They will be on bail.
Bail continues until we decide what next.
Yes, sir. Yes. Raja, hold on. Sorry?
Passport. Their passport. Their passport. They are going to upload their passport. Bail condition.
Hold on.
What's the bail condition? Bail condition.
$500,000
Each.
bond.
Any withdrawal of the passport.
We'll decide that after here.
All right. Okay. So,
yeah, we take 3 more questions.
Sorry, Commissioner. We did not read out the vet article section 38, which I have seen here. I don't know whether you wish to give us your interpretation of this. If it syncs with that Brima's interpretation, which you quoted them as having given to you.
Well, you want us to go into that now?
The President, well, it may form the basis for you to either indict or not indict.
Read
Because
it.
if he acted within the law of the SLFA, that probably justifies at least some of his actions. The provision says the President of SLFA represents the SLFA legally and is entitled to sign for SLFA. The Executive Committee may set up internal organization regulation regarding the joint signature of the officers in particular, in case of the President's absence and concerning all important business of the SLFA. Do you think this holds legally?
No, it doesn't. That's a general statement, and it's almost an exception to administrative responsibilities. But for example, for things like accounts, which are specifically provided for, it is those specific provisions you rely on. So in law and interpretation, you do not rely on the general when there's a specific. And that is the mistake he is making. He is leaving the specific to rely on the general. And that is a very serious mistake in law. Yes.
yes.
Yeah. What's the relationship?
Your
between-
name and
Okay, I'm sorry. My name is Amusi. I'm representing Pan Africa Student Voice. What's the relationship between ACC and FIFA? And also, I want to know what's the remedy that ACC is going to use to ensure that Sierra Leoneans money will not go just like this. Because in the Aisha, this was the same issue. And now that Brima again, what remedy are you going to use to ensure that this continues?
All options are on the table, and as my friend Fajar asked, and we have answered, all options will be ready. The only thing is we now have the benefit of hindsight. So we'll take all what has happened in the past into consideration when we now act on these findings.
all right.
Last question.
The man in the black there. Have you asked your question?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Will you indict next week?
We may, but it will depend on a lot of factors.
Okay. The last person.
Thank you. Said Bangura from Sierra Leone. So, in regards with the monies which you said we are transferred to the president of Slfa, have you been able to uncover the purpose of the transfers? I'm asking because a month ago, I had a groundbreaking information from an anonymous source stating that most of the international matches which our national team have lost, we are sold by the management.
Let's pay attention, please.
You have groundbreaking information. I don't have groundbreaking evidence. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Let's discuss it later. Let's discuss it later.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming and attending to this press conference.
Thank you. Roger, how's it been? It's been a long time.
Come and take your budget.
Fambulem, this is Unity Broadcasting. As we don't come to an end, today the press conference with the ACC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, we called today concerning, and a press release will be posted outside, and they said that they get a press conference on the issue of the president and the executive of the Sierra Leone Football Association. And today it always out a lot of issues and regarding some of the money that we take. Maybe they go to some personal accounts from the president and the financial sector. So I don't give you a rundown of how they spend some of them on the day and waiting at the updates. And finally, we tell we say, because of tomorrow, then gets the Salon Football Association and therefore getting Congress, they grant the president and executive the way they own.